Queensland and Aus To Tas have moved on from the Blue Mountains out along the western fringe of New South Wales towards the Victorian border to the outskirts of Melbourne City, to where we reached Tassie. So off the boat as the sun rose and exploring around Devonport, making our way through Port Sewell towards Launceston and out through Benloma National Park, through the forest to Derby, then out towards St Mary's and along to Coles Bay for a piece of freedom, which would lead us to Marland for a misty walk and a camp with some friends, then back onto the main Tassie, making our way to a wonderful camp spot on a beach with a sunset view. We woke up to a cloudy sky on the beach, tucked up in our sleeping bag.
Beautiful. Good spot to camp on the beach.
As the water glistened, we admired the mountains in the background. And the scratchy clouds above us.
Nice little camp spot there, bike there. And then you just turn around and yeah, that's my view. Awesome, good little camp spot. And cars are about 30 metres away over that way.
We began to cook up our water a few times for hot porridge with fruit for our brekkie.
Some water, porridge, cereal, punchy nut, and
The water was shallow for quite some time. Packed up our gear, ready for the adventure to Port Arthur.
yep, gear's all packed up there on the bike. Just I'm gonna go for water's right there, so I might as well go for a morning dip, might as well chuck it in the water. I put my feet in there, it's quite nice. So yeah, I'll just put those things on after I go for a swim, and yeah, so let's enjoy the water. And we got solar charging up some batteries there. My Gopro battery yesterday, charging up. It charged up really fast. It's really good. Oh man, that's great. That is just awesome. And it just goes out through fat for quite some time.
Once all the gear was on the bike and me, we began to ride. So off the sand we went. and heading into town to collect some water.
Well, I guess.
A nice local invited me to the neighbourhood centre to grab some water.
That one's full and I filled that one.
Yeah.
Those two felt like they were.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
No worries. Enjoy your ride time.
Yeah. Awesome. See, I think that place. Cherry for home.
Then we're good to go along the road, which was surprisingly quiet. We made our way out to Eagle Hawk Neck. With the ocean beside us, we rode the 19 kilometres from Eagle Hawk Neck towards Port Arthur Historical Site, along the touring route under the blue sky. After a good pedal on the road, we reached Port Arthur to head to the historical site. We would grab our ticket and have some lunch by the water. Before our tour would begin. Well, that was a nice morning ride to start off the day. Now let's jump into Port Arthur tour.
More than 100 acres here. On top of that, there is the harbour. We'll show you where the harbour cruise departs from. The real site itself is much bigger again than that, so you'll be pleased to know that we're not dragging you around the whole lot of it. Our intention is sort of move through the centre, enough that we can see everything. We'll point out the buildings to you, we'll tell you about them, give you some ideas for the afternoon. We're going to tell you the story of Port Arthur, so the story that connects everything, and that should take about 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes or so. All right, so we'll start properly down on the harbour, on the oval down here. If you're Australian, depending on your age a little bit, you'll almost certainly know, but in 1996, Port Arthur was the scene of the most terrible gun tragedy. It's hard to believe, but at the time it was the world's largest single gunman massacre, 35 people shot. We don't know a lot about it around the site, but that area just over there, behind the hedges, that's the memorial garden. He's at the age of 18 in 1833. Incidentally, the year that Port Arthur begins as a prison. But I wasn't sent directly here. Almost nobody was. It's not that kind of place. This is for secondary offenders. So any story you hear from Port Arthur is not a typical convict story. Would you like to hear a typical convict story? Steal something. Back in Britain, 3/4 of all transported crimes are crimes of property. Only about 10% are violent crimes. See how the story turns out. Assignment class of do something. So there's incentives here to reform. Things like religion, trade training, education. But there's also disincentives. Top, ankles bound at the bottom, shirt removed, wooden handled whip, 9 strands of whipcord. Each of those have knots on it, and at Port Arthur it's dipped in salt water. It's a port that instead of being hanged, he had his sentence commuted, life transportation to Norfolk Island. But on his way there, they pull in the boat into the harbour here, and they've come to Port Arthur to pick up the incurable men, the incorrigible men, those men that cannot be changed by this place. So guess who's getting on board? So it's me, of course. And this is my chance. I say to Martin, we could take the ship. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He's going to stay in his berth. But me and my friends will give it a go. Doesn't go well. So now when I show up at Norfolk Island, I've got mutiny added to my charge. Right now, Norfolk Island, if any of you have heard of it, the one place lower in the totem pole than Port Arthur, you would have heard about that period that I am going into in 1844. It'll become under the control of John Price, the cruelest man that Australian history has ever produced. So up there you get 300 lashes at a time. And you would be strapped to a bed afterwards so you can't tend to your wounds and dehydrated. It was absolutely being tortured. Career-minded one who will go on to become Tasmania's first Premier. And most certainly I knew James Boyd, the longest serving one, the one that will mess with my mind. The military was there, so there's a lot missing now. They sold all the bricks and the stone. But at the top, some of you might be able to see a stone wall. That's just the base of the stone barracks. So they were right up the top there. There was a building in Australia, but they hadn't built it as accommodation. It was intended as a granary and flour mill. That's what it was set up for. The water had been diverted. There was a big water wheel in there mounted to the left of the tower. No animals. We just have to pick these things up. On our shoulders, we will carry them back to Port Arthur 4 miles. So learn a trade if you can. That's what they want to tell us. I'm not going to do that either. I'm pushing through. Because I wanted to stop at the hospital. There's a huge building up there, an 80-bed hospital, because they needed to care for that workforce. So the healthcare is not bad. The problem is you don't want supplies like medication. So I enjoyed the church. I enjoyed it at the start, the church. That's its name. It's not consecrated, so it doesn't have a denomination. It's neither a Protestant nor a Catholic church. We could all attend. And the first minister here, the Reverend Manton, could manage that. He's Wesleyan. He understood the instruction. Just teach the word of the Lord to all. It's more than just solitary confinement even. In that building, we had no identity. There's no human contact there. And it was possible for new arrivals, 12-month sentence. And that's what I came back to, 12 months in that building. It's not easy. Head shaved, get the gear. We got a badge with our cell number on it. That's all we are known as. We're not even permitted to use our own names. It really was like they walked away from this place. Transportation long since ended. They don't want any of us. The remaining men, they went all to Hobart Jail. The paupers, the lunatics, all shifted up to Hobart. Just one of more than 160,000 stories of men, women and children from across the British Empire that were transported to Australia. Just one of more than 70,000 of those men, women and children that came to Tasmania, and just one of more than 7,000 men and 3,500 boys that came to Port Arthur.
During that 45-minute tour, we headed off for a bit to look around at the buildings before heading towards the dock for a boat ride into the water.
This is awesome. We've got all them stock rooms over there.
For years by now, it's moved on from the timber getting that reputation of secondary punishment station, and the men that are coming here are considered incorrigible and incurable. In that slipway there, you can see a sculpture. Now this is an artist's impression of a boat under construction, but what it tells me is that artists should not be boat builders because of how warped it is. So they didn't build it out of steel. It's supposed to symbolise a ship at sea. That's about 90 tonnes displacement of gunboat in the colony. Around this area, coming down to this part of the right-hand side, the houses. Metal fittings and fastenings. Now that was actually built after the dockyards closed. The lime kiln, which is the brick construction there before it sails, we sail out of view until we return. That was built in 1854, again after the dockyards. 19 quarter fence, so I wouldn't exactly feel sorry for him. He'd stolen 3 boxes of toys to sell on the black market. Cheaper to hire out a teenage boy than an adult man as well. However, they still continued bad behaviour, so from the jetty onwards and beyond is the jail and on-point crew. Punishments they can receive, I think a very simple and effective one is losing their free time, 9-year-olds especially, watching their friends play while they have to stand to attention in the musty yard. They do birds. We'll manoeuvre around that, we'll rug everyone up. Now, if you're having a look around the landscape today, there is a lot of water, but there's also a lot of bushlands. We've got what is now the Tasman National Park on our right-hand side. Around the peninsula, we are surrounded by water on 3 sides, and it made a perfect place for a prison. Hobart is 42 nautical miles away, roughly about 8 hours of sailing.
Then making our way back to Port Arthur Historical Site. Back on the land we headed to the penitentiary. The building was originally built as a flour mill in 1845 to supply the settlement with flour. The venture failed. The building lay empty between 1854 and 1857. It's converted into the penitentiary you see today. The new penitentiary had 136 separated cells on the bottom 2 floors for those whom the commandant called the Lions, prisoners of bad character under heavy sentence. They had to be separated from each other and from the better behaved. The men ate and slept here, but worked around the site and across the peninsula. Above the cells was a dining hall, which was doubled as a schoolroom at night, the prisoners' library or useful entertainment books. On the top floor was a dormitory of 348 better behaved men. At the western end were the kitchen and bakery. The laundry at the top block lay between the main building. It included sheltered exercise yards, fireplaces, toilets, a clothing store, laundry and drying room. The penitentiary, the flour mill that came before, symbolised the machine of reformed work, containing within itself both the machinery of punishment and of self-improvement. It was gutted by fire in 1897, and bricks were taken away to build many local houses and sheds. We then moved behind the penitentiary to the police station. After a fire in 1897 destroying the police station in the old law courts, the station for the penitentiary was set up at Medina, about 15 kilometres away. In 1836, a new house was built on the side of the old prison barracks, and the trooper YlandFilms and his wife with their 3 children moved into the building. Then we moved on to the hospital. In the hospital, convicts were treated for numerous conditions, including respiratory or rheumatic elements contracted from working outdoors or sleeping in the cold cells. By the early 1860s, many convicts were housed and treated in Parvers Depot, or the asylum, according to the new idea that recognised the importance of mental health care. The asylum today includes a museum and a cafe. Once we flipped our way out, we headed down to the Smith O'Brown cottage. Cottage housed one of Port Arthur's most famous Irish president, parliamentarian Rowan Smith O'Brien. Transported for life, he was sent to Port Arthur after attempting to escape Maria Island.
Interesting stuff. You know, I like old buildings, it's cool. I like the really old buildings and stuff. Again, it's nice just to just look around and enjoy, read through the history notes and learn about how.
Then we head to the law courts just behind the penitentiary. The law courts served as a home to the rules and the regulations of settlement. It was here the rules were outlined by a clerk the day the convict first arrived, and where punishments were ordered if a convict broke the rules. Once we had a look around the law courts, we headed to the Free School. In 1836, a free school was established here for the military families. From the 1840s onwards, this building was used as a senior constable house. The bushfires of 1895 destroyed it completely. There were 3 military barracks at Port Arthur. The first was a simple timber building accommodating a sergeant and 15 men. By 1840, there were 3 officers and 118 men, and a new stone barrack was built higher up the hill. The soldiers occupied both stone barracks until 1853, After Port Arthur closed, the whole complex was sold and much of it was demolished. A large amount of the bricks and stones was recycled to build houses in Hobart. Then we'd head up the hill to the guards tower, along to see the officers' quarters. For most of the convict period, the senior military officer quarters was the home of the military officer in charge of the soldiers. A small number of soldiers were accompanied by their wives, who washed, served, and provided basic nursing care. Children of the soldiers, lower ranked settlement officers, and free staff were educated together in the nearby free school. The grounds between the commandant quarters and the military barracks is occupied by military officers now in command of the troops on the settlement. We continue to look around the commandant's house. Commandant was Port Arthur's most senior official. A resident befitting this rank and position are erected on high ground in 1833 and grew substantially over the years of occupation. As we walk through the buildings, you could see all the changes over the years, from the 1830s to the 1840s, 50s, 60s, and into the 1920s. We then headed down towards the gardens to look through there and make our way to the water to have some tuna and aioli rolls.
It's been a good day today. We did the morning swim, woke up on the beach, went for the ride to here, and just I like those guided tours. And it was also I'm a student, so I paid $32. You got an entry, plus you get a free 30-minute tour at the start of it, plus you get a boat around the harbour for $50, and you get 2 days entry.
We then walked out to the visitor centre to charge up our gear and chill before our night mission. We cooked up our spaghetti and tuna and noodles for our dinner whilst we waited it to become dark.
And my dinner before we head off to the ghost tour. Oh, around there for the ghost tour. But yeah, today was good fun. Okay, let's go do the ghost tour. Yeah, boy.
After the ghost tour we went.
In the lockup, and there were things happening over there, so thank God we're not going over to the penitentiary tonight. Dogs to walk there.
Oh.
But it doesn't mean that, things won't happen on our watch. Not everybody will experience the same thing. Some people will be open to what do you think? Are they all friendly? Yeah, hopefully, but they're not actually, because a lot of them were tormented souls. So they stay, they remain because of unfinished business, we think. And we roughly categorise them into 5 different groups. You've got the solid ones, look like you or I, appear during the day, during the night, anytime. Yeah, and they look solid, and we can actually to an absolute T. She described them physically. Oh, so-and-so's got this and that and is wearing this and, you know, and then. She was quite candid about the whole thing. Didn't worry her, didn't freak her out at all. So there you go. They're the ghosts that we can see through and can walk through us. Then, of course, we've got the noisy ones.
We're headed just outside the church into the garden.
John Chitty had his head down like this. He felt something land on his head. He thought, what's that? And he brushed his head and he looked up, and on the edge of the trench there was another man. Didn't have a shovel in his hand, he had a pickaxe. You know what a pickaxe is? Okay, and that was raised above his head like this. He brought it down on top of Joseph Shuttleworth's head. Not once, twice, and then 3 times. That was how he was Irish. He had to do it 3 times to be sure, to be sure, to be sure. His name was William Riley, no stranger to violent crime. He was in here all the term of his natural life for the stabbing and slashing murder of the young woman. Of course, because his head actually swung down and hit the wall first, about a third of the way down. As you know, head injuries bleed a lot. Blood trickled down that wall. Boom, man landed dead. Poor Gov, never saw nothing. Gov, he was up here 1 minute, and then the next minute, Gov, geez, he was down there.
As it got a bit darker, the stories continued. Then we made our way to the parsonage through the darkness.
The parsonage. There are about 4 entities who have been seen in this house over the years, but one in particular. And his name is the Reverend George Eason. So he was a reverend here at Port Arthur for 20 years and another 4 years elsewhere on the Tasman Peninsula. 12 months ago, I met his great-great-grandson. They were writing a book about the Reverend, and it's called The Convict's with Parson. He actually came and was standing out in front of my house, which is convict built as well, and the Reverend had lived next door. So I got some of the dirt on the Reverend from the family. What happened was, the Reverend was called out one night to go and see a dying convict out at the coal mine site, some 23 kilometres away. He was very diligent. He was a good man. He took his duties very seriously, and he treated everybody the same. The convicts the same as free people, the same as soldiers. And he ministered to them all equally. Now, it was a winter's night. He got called out. He got on his horse and out he went. 3.5 to 4 hours to get there, and saw the man, read him blessings, scriptures from the Bible, and talked gently to this man, tried to calm him. And he got on his horse and he rode all the way back. The time he got back here, it had been winter, raining, cold, miserable. He was soaked through to the skin. Now, he was a big man. He was almost 6'3", and that's huge for the time. The average height of a man was 5'4". Okay, so he was a giant of a man, unusually big. All right, so he got home here. He said to his wife, I don't feel well. I'm not good. I've got to chill. She said, well, up you go to bed. Their bedroom was down this end of the house. There are 2 dormer windows up there. It's the second one on that side of the house, on the south side of the house. He went to bed, and 2 days later he died of pneumonia, leaving behind a wife and 10 children. That's a lot of kids.
Then we make our way underneath the junior medical officer's house.
Is that what they're saying?
I was just saying to Bridie that every single first tour I do, nobody stands in the room. Everyone stands with their back to the wall. Are we all in? Not yet? In England, grave robbing appeared for the first time. Because these poverty-stricken industrial England, it's very hard to earn a quid. If you hung around a cemetery, notice where that fresh body had been dug, went back up, dug it up, you could then sell that on to medical or scientific folks who would pay handsomely for it, for the purpose of dissection. Also a group of people called workers. They started over behind you guys there's a hole in the wall. There are 2 convict pegs on the wall. That goes up to a fireplace upstairs. There is an entity that pops out of that space there on occasions, a man with a moustache. That ash and soot and thing would come down that hole, be collected into buckets, hanging on those hooks, that thrown onto the floor like sawdust in a butcher shop. Lifted it up, and a mouse jumped out of here where the skeletons and the backbone joins the head. Right? This little field mouse, and it jumped out and ran down the table straight to that woman's jumped up into her hair, a little bit tangled, like, ah! She's gone like that, thinking something supernatural.
Then up to the separate prison for isolating them.
I was going to take a deep breath. I got chased out of here one night on Locker. Okay, I had the keys, I was here all by myself, it was dark. I was walking down the sea wing to Locker. And I thought, come up behind me. And then this voice went right in my ear, it said, "Run, get out, run!" Okay, so it's no wonder I don't like this place. I had my worst experiences. The other night, I was telling you about Uric with the noose. We have another guide, Nat, and she's just started too. And we often find this, the new guides have, it's almost like they've been tested. Probably 3 weeks ago. She was standing on the 3rd step of the chapel, and her ponytail just stood straight up at the back of her head. And it was standing out, and all the people in front going, oh, look at her hair, it's all straight up the back like a cat's tail, And she kind of went, oh, because everyone's just staring, and all of a sudden she felt something in her hair like that, and she said, then the rubber band flicked out of her hair, and her hair went like static all the way around her head like this. Please let me know if anything happens to you that you're not comfortable with when we go inside. We don't have a lot of time left, and I deliberately run my tours like that so I don't have to spend too much time in here. So let's go, ladies. Transported to Australia, kept his nose clean for 16 years. All good. Did have a bit one wife and a couple of kids back in England. One night he was called round the back of the drinking house with his girlfriend Barbara.
Once done in there, we headed back through the darkness to the visitor centre, finishing off the ghost tour.
Thank you, Simon. And your name, sir?
Thank you. Awesome. Well, that was good fun. Now we'll go to a nice spot. I think I had a look on the maps and yeah, found a nice spot. So we'll head over there. Yeah, good fun ghost tour. Yeah, awesome. There's mainly just looking around the buildings and stuff, and didn't see much. Really hear a couple of sounds, but yeah, good stuff. I like those ghost tours. It's interesting.
And heading along the dark roads, beside the ocean, almost a flat road to a wooden structure at a lookout.
Awesome. Okay, so mates are here. Mates lookout.
So out here thought it'd be a nice little spot. So there's even nice little things, and I'm not really sure what the lookout looks like. We'll find out in the morning. I can't really see much. But yeah, I mean, I just thought it'd be nice to go to a lookout and wake up to a nice little view. So ticket includes the second day. We'll go back tomorrow because there's a few things I didn't actually explore, so we'll go back for a few hours and then see what we do. But you'll hang around here in the morning for a bit and then we'll check that out and then see what we do.
What a great day for riding along to Port Arthur and looking around the historical site, learning lots of information about the history of Port Arthur. A nice day, 44. Now it's time for day 45, with the sun trying to shine through the clouds. We hopped out of our bed to look at the lookout. Then jumped over the railing to see the view.
Well, good morning and welcome to day, what is it, 45 I think. So yeah, let's enjoy the day.
We made up our brekkie to enjoy the ocean crashing against the cliffs. We then wrote in our journal about the previous days. We then began to pack our gear away. So go head on down the cliff on a walk to the remarkable cave. Onto the remarkable cave, which is a rocky tunnel carved into the sandstone by the sea, leading to a secluded beach accessible at low tide. We headed in as the ocean came in and out, leading into the Tasman Sea, looking outwards to Macquarie Island. Into the cave we went, as the water smashed up against the sides. We had little explore around as the water flowed in and out.
Oh, we're going in. Wow. Whoa. Wow.
So after our morning dip, we headed back to the bike to make our way to the historical site for our second day of looking around Port Arthur. Well, that was remarkable. The camera just doesn't do it justice. That was really cool. I mainly just went in there and just had a look around and just enjoyed it. That was awesome. We pedalled on the path with the tall cliffs behind us. Then along the road with the slight blow of the wind.
Awesome! And we're back. Ticket includes 2 days.
We arrived back to look at the historical buildings. We started at the prisoners' barracks. A large gateway over which the muster bell hanged. The other two are the quarters of the subcontractable and the of certain ticket of leave.
Okay, awesome. So we're back for our second day of looking around those buildings and stuff. So yeah, we did over half of them yesterday. It's a 2-day ticket, so we get to come back for 2 days. Only for $40. Plus you get the boat ride, plus you get the tour. So awesome. Yeah, we did like 12 of the buildings yesterday, looked through those, just enjoyed the day. Then we did the ghost tour, that's like 20 balls, where we just did a bunch of buildings.
And the other sees another yard containing 5 rooms. We then headed to the asylum. By the early 1860s, many convicts were housed and treated in Private Depot, or the asylum, according to the new idea that recognised the importance of mental health care. The asylum today includes a museum and a cafe. So we had a look around the asylum, museum and cafe. our way to the separate prison for isolation. The separate prison was designed to deliver a new method of punishment and reform through isolation and contemplation. Convicts were locked in a single cell for 23 hours each day. Here they ate, slept, and worked, with just 1 hour a day allowed of exercise alone in the high-walled yard. A major conservation program for the separate prison occurred between 2007 and 2012. Plus we got to learn about Dennis Doherty a bit more, the guy in which the tour guide was talking about yesterday for the tour we did. We headed back to the parsonage from where we went to the ghost tour last night, the home of the Reverend Dunham and his family, and also the home of Reverend Eastman. By the 1890s, the house was leased and ran as a private hotel. Then along to the church. The church represented an important role of religion in the convict reform at Port Arthur. Up to 11,000 people attended compulsory services here each Sunday. Much of the decorative stonework and joinery in the church was crafted by boys from the Point Bleu Boys Prison. The church was never consecrated, allowing for multi-denominational services to be held. Then along through the government gardens built in 1846. Which would lead us to the dockyards. During its 15 years of operation, 1834 to 1848, Port Arthur's dockyard produced 16 large decked vessels and around 150 small open boats. Awesome, well, there you go. That was the research site. It was good, lots of history, lots of sad history, good facts. Really, like, it was great fun. And the staff here were great. Good tours. And yeah, but good fun. Okay. Well, let's see what else we get up to today. I'm not too sure. Just probably go for a bit of a ride somewhere and explore a little bit. Past the minion letterbox alongside the water. Passing some more history and a few flips down the hill, which would lead us to the nice sandy ocean swim. That was perfect, that was good sliding actually. Oh, the sand is actually quite nice, like I can just lie in the sand. Then along the road to the blowhole, for which we had some biscuits and dip by the blowhole. and to the Tasman Arch as the sun was setting.
Boy, it's steep down there. I was thinking if I could camp anywhere along here. Really need some rock climbing gear and harness and stuff to camp along down.
So we set up camp at the lookout with the great view of the ocean and the rocks.
Neat. There's some cool spots under the cliffs and stuff. But the way to get down there is you do a whole bunch of climbing.
Out into the distance with the seabirds flying around. Wow, what a great adventure to Port Arthur to visit the historical site.
Camp around here somewhere and we might go over there for breakfast or something.
Dinner was cooked and we folded into our sleeping bags and ate it as we looked out over the cliff. Next time on the Oz Has video series, we woke up to a grand view. The seabirds flying around and the ocean hitting the cliffs, creating the caves like the Devil's Kitchen, and making our way along the road to get to the great view of Hobart City under the night sky, and recharging ourselves a little.
Don't forget, adventure is just outside your door.